All right, welcome. Today, we are digging into a really fascinating framework, one that's aiming to create nothing less than a universal blueprint for intelligence itself. So, let's just dive right in with a pretty big question. I mean, think about it. What could a healthy human brain, a thriving society, and a super powerful AI possibly have in common at their core? They seem like completely different things, right?
Well, the answer, according to the research we're exploring today, is that they're all in a constant struggle. They're all fighting this invisible battle, the fight to maintain order against the universe's natural tendency to fall apart into chaos.
And that brings us to our first big idea here, this concept of a universal struggle.
You've basically got two forces at war. On one side, you have coherence. You can think of that as structure, pattern, organization, all the good stuff. And on the other side, you have entropy. That's the disorder, the randomness, the decay. The source material argues that this is the fundamental challenge for any complex system, from a whole galaxy right down to a single thought in your head.
Okay, so if this is a battle, how do we actually keep score? How can we measure how healthy a system is? Well, that's where the coherence equation comes in.
The first ingredient is something called calibration, or CAL for short. This is all about the system's accuracy. How well is it tuned into reality? In our brains, the research actually connects this to a measurable signal, prefrontal beta coherence. It's this specific brainwave pattern at the front of your head that gets stronger when you're correctly predicting what's about to happen. Pretty cool.
Next up, we have coherence itself, or CO. Now, this is about internal alignment. Are all the different parts of the systems singing from the same hymn sheet, so to speak? For a person, we can actually measure this. We can look at EEG data to see how in sync different brain regions are, or even look at something called heart rate variability, or HRV. A higher HRV is a great sign that your nervous system is balanced and well aligned. Now for the creative spark, emergence, or M. This is the system's ability to come up with brand new, useful ideas and patterns. And the brain science here is just amazing. The documents point to these things called gamma bursts, these sudden, powerful flashes of high-frequency brain activity that pop up right at that aha moment of insight. But here's the catch. All that great stuff, calibration, coherence, emergence, is constantly being attacked by noise. In the equation, it's represented by the Greek letter eta. And noise is just what it sounds like. It's the system's error rate. It's the mistakes, the contradictions, the hallucinations. It's that entropy we talked about, and it's the one thing that can drag the whole system down. So when you put it all together, you get this beautiful picture. The Coherence Calibration Index, or CCI, is simply calibration times coherence times emergence, all of that divided by noise. The big idea here is that this one elegant equation can give us a universal health score for pretty much any intelligent system you can imagine. And the really crucial thing to get is that this isn't just some abstract theory. No, it's a measurable framework that works across wildly different fields. Let me show you what I mean. Just look at this table. For a human brain, we can measure coherence using things like EEG and HRV. For an AI model, researchers use a special test suite to check for logical consistency. And for a whole company, you can use network analysis to see how information flows or measure how well teams agree on things. See? The underlying principle is exactly the same. We just use different tools to measure it. And it gets even more real than that. The research actually gives us validated CCI scores for different human states. So a normal baseline state is around 0.5 to 0.6. When you're stressed or angry, that score plummets to below 0.45. But get this, in a positive state like feeling love, it can shoot up to 0.85. Your emotional state has a literal, measurable coherence score. But a single score is really just a snapshot. What we really care about is how systems survive and thrive over time. And that brings us to resilience and, believe it or not, meaning. The framework lays out this beautiful little cascade. It starts with integrity. That's your CCI score, your system's health at a moment in time. High integrity then allows for resilience. That's the ability to bounce back from a shock. And when a system keeps being resilient over and over again, it accumulates meaning. So integrity enables resilience, and resilience over time builds meaning. And honestly, this next part is maybe the most mind-bending claim in the entire framework. I'm going to read this quote directly from the source material. Meaning is not subjective.
It has accumulated coherence through time. It can be measured. Just let that sink in. It's reframing meaning from this fuzzy, philosophical idea into something quantifiable, a property of any system that manages to hold itself together over time.
Okay, but if resilience is that important, what's fueling it? Where does a system get the juice to bounce back from adversity?
Well, the answer seems to be something called the triflux model. Resilience is apparently fueled by three things: energy, connection, and information. But look at how they're weighted here. Information flow is by far the most critical factor. It accounts for over 60% of what allows the system to adapt and survive. It's more important than raw energy or the number of connections.
So what does this all add up to? What does it mean for the future? Well, it essentially gives us a brand new blueprint for building intelligence. So why does this all matter so much? Well, for one, it gives us a common language to talk about intelligence in both people and machines. That's huge. Second, it gives us a real, measurable guide for building AI that isn't just powerful, but is also stable and resilient. And finally, it's like a diagnostic tool. We can use it to figure out why any complex system, whether it's a person or a company, might be struggling. And when you're looking for what holds these systems together, one thing really stands out. This chart, which is derived from the research, is pretty shocking. Trust has the single biggest positive impact on a system's coherence. It's way more powerful than hope, and this is fascinating. It's much more stabilizing than a rigid focus on truth, which can sometimes create more conflict and noise. Trust is the glue.
So the big takeaway, the really clear path forward this framework gives us is this: we need to change our goal. Instead of just optimizing our AIs, our companies, or even ourselves for raw performance, we should be optimizing for coherence, for that beautiful balance of accuracy, alignment, and creativity, all built on a solid foundation of low noise.
And that really leaves us with one final, massive question to chew on. If this framework is right, if we can truly put a number on the health and coherence of a mind, or an AI, or even an entire society, then what is our responsibility to actually improve it?